this first week. So welcome. My name is David Dance. You've seen me in, I guess, a couple of videos, just reaching out and inviting you to join us and then reminding you for the first meeting here. So super glad to have you. It's going to be a really fun experience. I've gone through this. This is my fourth time now with the program. As I mentioned, my wife Holly and I decided a couple years ago to start down this personal development path. We weren't necessarily like frustrated, or really we enjoy our life, honestly, back even before we started this journey, and we just wanted to get better. That was really the biggest thing. And my wife had stumbled upon a conference or a training in Salt Lake City that was for couples. And I got to tell you guys, I went kicking and screaming. I did not want to go. I said, hey, we're fine. We don't need anyone telling us what we need to do. And that was sort of my attitude going down to it. And it was probably 15 minutes into this thing, and I was just said, oh, wow, there's definitely some stuff that I need to work on, some stuff that I need for myself. And since that time, it's been pretty much nonstop for us on this path, and it's been such a great experience. So again, I'm going to take the things that I've learned these last few years, boil them down to 6 topics that we're going to talk about over these next 6 weeks. Week 1 will be about vision boards. I'm going to sort of front end it with some information that will be helpful for all the classes. And yeah, midweeks, on Wednesdays, we'll do a quick little Q&A call, chat a little bit there about any questions you have, sort of talk together as a team. And then on Fridays, I'm going to give you an opportunity to sort of report back, and we'll discuss how that works at the end of the call. So you have sort of how that will work. We'll have an activity to implement what we talk about tonight, and it's worked out. It's been a great system, and if you just jump full in and participate, I know you're going to get a lot out of it. So let's go ahead and start off. I want to start off by telling you a little bit about even prior to us going and getting training, my wife and I, we had a really cool experience that, come to find out later, was actually something that applies very straight on and very, it's very connected to this topic of vision boards tonight. So my wife Holly and I, this would have been probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we decided that, some of you have heard of Dave Ramsey. We listened to his program a little bit, and I really like, being good with money, or trying to take that headache out of life a little bit as much as possible. And we decided, you know what, let's get out of debt, including our home. We really wanted to just get everything paid off and not owe anyone anything, including our home. So we decided, we sort of made this makeshift little countdown to pay off our home. I think we did it in like $2,500 increments. And so it was just sort of like this bar chart going down, and every $2,500 we had a place where we could sort of color it off as we paid it off. And it was right there on our bathroom mirror. I still can remember exactly where it was. I should have kept the paper. I don't think we did, but right up in the top left portion of our bathroom mirror. So every morning we'd go in to get ready, brush the teeth, getting ready in the morning, we'd look up at that thing like, okay, yeah, we're making progress. We'd pay something off. And this went on for weeks and weeks, months and months, and a couple years. And we just found ourselves really getting into this, because every morning and every evening we're looking up at this little diagram to pay our home off. And we're constantly thinking of, man, what can we do? How can we make a little bit more money? What are some things that we're missing that can bring in a little bit more money? And what we would do is, I had my corporate job, and Holly was selling real estate. And anytime we got a little bit more than what we needed to live on, we just dump it on the mortgage. And we started coloring this thing in, and we'd get some chunks that would cover in a little bit, like 2 or 3 of those things. And we just started working down. And then finally, this would have been now about 4 years ago, we made the last payment. It was crazy. It was, a couple $100,000. We just gradually went down this, but this is a type of a vision board. And we're going to talk a lot about that obviously tonight, but I wanted to start off with this. interesting story. This was sort of my introduction to a vision board. Granted, it's a little different than the type that I use today, but a vision board nonetheless, and it had the same impact that of what we're going to talk about. That's a little bit more structured today. So welcome everyone to the program. So glad to have you here. I'm going to be looking sort of back and forth between my screens here as we roll through the presentation here today. What I wanted to do is I took a few notes. We had some people that were great enough to chime in and sort of introduce themselves a little bit, sort of tell a little bit about what they're hoping to get from this program. And I wanted to just take just a second here and just give you some of the different things that I heard, some of the different topics, because I think it's really interesting. You'll see a lot of overlap in some of these comments. Some are very unique, but they all, as I looked at them, will be answered in this 6-week program. I can promise you that. And many of them, frankly, will be answered tonight. So some of the things I heard is being overwhelmed, being stressed out, worrying, maybe being too busy, lacking some drive and confidence at times, just coasting along, fear of failure. Man, that's a big one I've had to deal with in my life. So I totally get that one. Maybe not having enough self-care, and that's a huge one. We will definitely be addressing that. Maybe failing a little bit in my personal life, although succeeding in another part of life. Maybe being a little bit overweight. I'm going to talk big time about that one. That has definitely been something that I've gone through. Putting a house in order, dealing with finances, both very good topics. Just taking things to that next level. That's this is not just strictly for people that are really struggling. You may be very, very successful right now in life and just want to take things to the next level. That's awesome. This stuff can do that. And these principles are made to build upon themselves and continue to take it higher and higher. So you're in good company here. Increasing my self-worth, my purpose. How can I get better and help others? Being a little bit more positive and seeking out more knowledge. So these are all things that came through on the Facebook page as we did some introductions. And another thing that I have another list that I sort of talk about, and I think you've heard these in some of my videos as well. Things like I'm stuck in life. So I've done a lot of one-on-one mentoring through these group mentoring sessions. These themes seem to come out quite a bit, and they do correlate with the ones that you threw out there as well. I'm stuck in life. I just feel blah. I always fall short of my goals. I feel like I run and run all day, but I don't get much done. Who can relate to that one? I don't feel like I am living to my full potential. So these are some of the things that I hear and variations of those quite often. Let me share with you something that I love as we just get started here. So we've talked about some of those reasons or some of the things we're looking to gain from this program, maybe things that are holding us back currently. Let me talk to you a little bit about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is your potential. So it's good to identify some of the areas where we struggle. I also think it's very important, if not more important, it probably is more important, to also focus on our potential. So Einstein came up with the equation E equals mc squared. I'm going to take you back to your high school days here now and talk a little science with you. E equals mc squared. This is the equation that helped to that led to the discovery of the nuclear bomb. E equals mc squared. But it can also be applied, and Einstein talked about this as well. It can be applied to us as individuals. So energy equals mass times the speed of light squared is what the equation means. So what I did is I actually plugged in my figures here to come up with what is my energy potential? And maybe you've never heard this before, but this is something that he talked about, and it is absolutely fascinating and powerful. So I weigh 175 pounds. So if I put in my weight in, I think it had me translate it to kilograms. I've just got the numbers here. And then I times it by the speed of light squared. That gives me 7.2 times 10 to the 12th power megajoules. Now, if you don't know what a megajoule is, I definitely did not. The first let's see, the first fission bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima was 60 million megajoules. So if I were to translate that to my potential energy as a human being, that equates to 120,941 fusion bombs. Now the nuclear bombs you'll see today are much more powerful, but that one was obviously very powerful. Isn't that incredible? And a lot of people, you know, call foul on this and like, there's just no way possible. But I mean, Einstein knew a thing or two, didn't he? And what if we can start to figure out how to uncover our potential? Even a small portion of that, how powerful would that be, right? So that's really what I'm trying to get into here this evening and for the remainder of the program is how do we tap into that potential that we all have within us? Now, a lot of what we are up against as we talk about those struggles that we talked about the first of the program is the programming that each of us have from growing up. Now, we each have programs running all the time for this. This is sort of how our brain works, how our subconscious works to get through the day. We have certain programs because there's so much information that we're bombarded with throughout our daily activities that our brain uses these programs to get through the day, to make decisions and to know what to do exactly, rather than trying to consciously analyze it. Just wouldn't be possible to consciously analyze all of this stuff. So a lot of these programs we're running on today, even as myself, I'll be 40 years old this year, we're running on programs that we learned back when we were, 7, 8, talking about my boy that we had his birthday party earlier today, 7, 8, 9 years old, and even before that. So it's important that a lot of times what happens is we get this stuck feeling in life, or we're feeling overwhelmed, or all these different things that were mentioned at the first of the call. What's going on is we are using programs from when we were a child, and it's now comes time to get training so that we can reprogram and upgrade our programming to a new level so that we can actually start to succeed in some of these areas where we continually fail. There's a quote here that I love that I want to share with you right now, dealing with this programming. It says, "You are not responsible for the program you picked up in childhood. However, as an adult, you are 100% responsible for fixing it. When you blame others, you give up your power to change." Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that have endured things that I can't imagine in childhood and growing up. And frankly, it's really sad that not everyone can grow up in a situation that's just with loving parents and an environment that's really conducive to living a great life and giving yourself a good chance for potential and just setting you up right for potential and for success. But what this quote says here that I love is that we can be responsible and we can step up to try to fix that and to get some training that will pull us through some of that old programming, some of that old hurt, and take it to the next level. If nothing changes, nothing changes. For things to change, I must change. For things to get better, I must get better. This is something that I've learned from one of my mentors, Kirk Duncan. And he's taught me a lot, but I love that. For things to get better, I must get better. Many times in life, we react to the situations and the circumstances that are presented to us, that happen to us, right? And we react to those rather than being proactive in our life and choosing a positive way to react to the things that do come up in life, right? And putting ourselves more in that control. So again, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how do we quit being a victim? How do we quit blaming others for our situation and start taking responsibility to change it ourselves? And really the biggest key, if we've been at that point in the past, that's totally fine. You're in the right place. You've identified that you need some training. You need some additional information to be able to get you to the next level. And that really is the difference, is getting some training. And once you have the training, you now have some tools and some information to break through maybe some of those, the furthest points that you've been able to travel in the past. You're able to now go an extra distance. So let's jump in here and talk about, let's start getting into the meat here. So why a vision board? And we're going to talk about that now. The summary of all 6 weeks of this program are, I'm going to give it to you right now in two different things. The first part is this 80-20 rule that we've all heard about many times. It applies to so many different things in life. But where I'm going to talk about it here is that 80% of success in life is your mindset. Only 20% is skill set. Let that just sink in for a minute. I want you to think about times when you have not succeeded. Maybe you've fallen short on a goal. That path typically looks the same, right? We put in some effort, we push. Let's talk New Year's resolutions for a minute, right? We push, and what ends up happening is at some point we maybe miss an action item, we miss a day in our goal, and a day becomes 2 days. We get another one, but we miss 2-3 days in a row, and then before we know it, we've sort of gotten off the path. A lot of that comes back to this right here. How do we strengthen our mindset so that when we do slip up, we're able to 100% forgive ourselves and 100% get back on that path? So mindset really is the key. Let me put it another way. So this is the other diagram I was mentioning. And this is one I use often. I love this analogy. Not an artist, so you have to bear with me here. So we've got our tree. This is the ground. Here's our root system. So we've got roots, trunk, branches. Let's put some fruit on here. If we were to compare this tree, let's do it this way, where the roots down here are our thoughts and our emotions. So that's where it all starts, thoughts and emotions. Let's say this trunk of the tree and maybe the branches are our actions. And the fruit here are the results that we have in life. This right here is the key to everything. Once you realize that it starts with your thoughts and emotions, and those thoughts and emotions then lead to actions that you take based on those, and a set of actions gives you a result, you very quickly realize that the key is how do we produce better thoughts, because that's what's going to give us different results. A lot of times in life when we have a bad result or a result we do not want, we spend a ton of time trying to change our actions. The problem with that is if we are simply changing our actions, we're not getting to the root issue here, which is our thoughts and emotions. Isn't that cool how that works? The root here is our thoughts. Thoughts and emotions are very closely tied, and that's why we put those together. But the key here then becomes, and this just takes a minute to really fully understand this and agree with this, but the key to this whole thing is creating better thoughts. So how do we do that? And these 6 weeks are going to be talking about different ways that really help us to start training ourselves or training our mind to think differently so that we can create drastically new positive results that we want and not get mired in negative thoughts, negative emotions, because what are those going to produce for us? Results that are negative, actions that are negative, and that's really where we need to go back to is our thoughts. So how many of us go through our day, and I just want you to take a second here and think about this a little bit. What are the thoughts that you have throughout the day? Are they positive? Probably some of them. Are they negative? I would guess if you're like most people, you have a lot of negative thoughts toward yourself. So those negative thoughts are really something that is an area that can be improved upon. If we can change, I heard it earlier today, every day we must weed the negative and fertilize the positive. So if we can learn to weed out the negative and get more and more and more positive going through our thoughts, we're going to see better results. And that is really the key here, what we're shooting for. So let's now start talking about vision boards a little bit more closely. So if we think about our thoughts and what our brain is focusing on, there's really a couple different things, a couple key things that our brain is using to drive emotion that then drives actions and then results. We have our visual, we have our audio or our words. These are two things that can really influence our thoughts. Think of, the masters of this are, Hollywood. They're masters of putting visual and the script into a format that is it drives you, it brings emotion, and it causes people to want to act a certain way, or to act in a way that is similar to what is going on to that movie, right? Because they're putting that imagery into our mind, and they're doing it in a way that's very impactful. And sometimes it's for the good, sometimes it's for the bad. So this week we're going to talk about our visual. Next week we will talk about, so this will be week number 2, we're going to focus more on some of the things we can do with our words to give ourselves better thoughts that will lead to better results. So let's jump in here and talk about a vision board. I was going to grab my vision board. I realize I don't have it right here with me now, but I'm going to talk about it. And then I'll give you a recommendation or a suggestion of where to start with yours. Some of you I know will actually already have vision boards and are working on them, which is awesome. So just take this information today, and you can hopefully you'll learn some new stuff that you can implement and tweak maybe a little bit. Those of you that do not currently have a vision board, this will be new for you, and we'll just start you from the basics and work our way on up. So vision board, really what it is it's something that you have to look at. It's visual, it's a vision board. The thought is that you're looking at this thing as often as possible, at least in the morning and the evening. You're really studying this and looking intently at this thing. And a lot of times what's recommended is that you have something that frames out the vision board, right? So some people use poster board. I currently have a cork board that's, I've upgraded to like the $10 cork board from the local Walmart. Another mentor of mine recommends just getting green tape that you actually paint the walls with. If you don't have any of these other things, and we can just get you started immediately, just put painter's tape. It doesn't peel the tape off your wall, and get yourself a frame, something that's maybe like 3 feet by 3 feet or 2 feet by 3 feet up on that wall. And really where I recommend having this thing is somewhere where you're going to for sure see it every morning and evening. I gave you the example when we first started the call of the numbers running down our mirror in the bathroom, and we would see that we were guaranteed to see that every morning and evening because it's right there on the mirror as I'm brushing my teeth and getting ready for the day. Right now where I have it, and I think one of the best places you can have it is right as you get out of your bed, so your side of the bed, right there on the wall, about eye level, where you're going to be able to see that thing and you can't avoid it because you're going to get into bed every evening and you're going to get out of bed every morning. So having it right there, but having that frame to start with, and then within your frame here, what I suggest you do is go to Google. This is how I do it. I go to Google, and whatever that goal or whatever that thing that is that I want or I'm shooting for in life, I will go find a picture, a visual picture of that thing that is as close as I can imagine it would look like for me to have that thing. So sometimes if it's just like an item you want to purchase, go find that picture on a Google search, excuse me, print it off and get that up on your vision board. And then in combination with that, so let's just draw a little car here. So maybe say that's what I know guys, my drawing's beautiful, isn't it? So here's our car. This is our Tesla, drawn to scale here. So say this is our Tesla, for example, is our goal. And by the way, you know, the vision board can be anything. It can be spiritual items. It can be physical, like body type goals and items. It can be schooling. It can be relationships. It can be money. It can be career. It can be any of these things. So just whatever that thing is that you're looking to get out of life, we want to have a visual as close as we can think of what it looks like as possible. And then I also love the idea of having just a like a one sentence description So this would just be an example. I want a white Tesla, okay? Whatever that description is below our item, and these two combined become our post on our vision board. So this would be one item here. Now, where I've got mine now is I've actually got 9 items. So I've got 3 across, 3 down. So I've got 9 items on my vision board. The ones that I've seen that I don't think are quite as successful are the ones that it's sort of like a collage where they all sort of run together. It just seems, I think it would work, and it would be definitely better than doing nothing, because you are feeding those images into your mind and influencing your thoughts. But I like having them sort of separate so that you can, how I will actually do it, and I'll show you in just a second here how I actually work my vision board, I call it, and work on getting the images to embed in my thoughts and then start driving to emotions, actions, and results. Is I just like to have these postings sort of separate from one another. So what I would recommend is, if you're new to this, start with one item. I had encouraged you in previous video and email to come to this call thinking about one item that you really want out of life. So whatever that item is, something that you really want to focus your attention on. Starting a vision board, I think having one item is great, because it allows you to really focus deeply and drive hard on that one item, and really let that start to embed, start to practice it, and then you can start adding more and more items. I don't know that you want to get much more than like 10 to 12. I think after that you really start to the focus really starts to leave, and it's maybe not quite as effective. So I would encourage you to stay with, maybe start with one if you haven't done one before, and then work up into that like 9 to 10 range, and that's going to be a really good, it works very, very well, I can tell you from my experience. So this is what we got. I also like to add a date. So say we put this on there today, March 5th, 2018. So this would be your start date. And then the game becomes, how quickly can I get this thing off of my vision board? Okay. I've tried it both ways, putting a deadline, and deadlines, you can potentially set yourself up for disappointment if you put a deadline. It's not that you can't do one, but I like putting the start date and then just working to get it off as fast as you can. And we'll talk about some of the other things that we do along the way to help move us along the path to getting to this goal. But for now, I think the date, the picture as close as possible, and then a one sentence description of what the item is going to get you going. Okay, does that make sense? That's sort of where we want to start. Now, to give you some ideas, I had mentioned earlier that I was going to bring my vision board, but I didn't. I've got a picture of it right here. Let me just describe to you what I've currently got on my vision board to give you guys some ideas, and I'm willing to share what I've got on here just to give you guys some ideas of, what, but it can be anything. So don't get tied to this either. I mean, I'm just going to throw out a few things that I'm working on. So up in the top left, I've got a vacation to Hawaii written there. So that's something that I'm looking at, focusing on, and gonna have happen. In the top middle, I've got a 1960s Lincoln Continental. This is a car that I had a 66 Cadillac for quite some time, and I've always wanted the 60s Lincoln Continental. If you guys have ever seen the Matrix movie, this is the car. It has suicide doors on it, and man, it's just a cool car. I like older cars, and that's just something that I would like to get. The next one I have in my top right is assisting 6 of the young men in my neighborhood to earning their Eagle Scout Award. Okay, so now you start seeing, so you got some of the material stuff, right? And then some of this more service-oriented stuff, which is important to me. So I want to help 6 of these young men to attain their Eagle Scout Award. And this one's about to come off. I've helped, we've got 5 down now, so I've got 1 more young man that we're trying to sort of finish up his merit badges and get him done. The next one down is play a round of golf at Augusta National. This is where they play the Masters. If you don't know if you don't know much about golf, this is the #1 rated course in the world. It's the most coveted place. Every golfer in the world that knows golf at all wants to play Augusta. I mean, it's a privilege just to go watch the Masters, let alone play the course. So when I wanted to put something on my vision board that scared me to death, that I was just like, there's just no way this is going to happen. And I got to tell you, this has been on there for, when I can't see the date here on my picture. That's what I'm trying to guess. I think it was about 6 months ago that I put this on my vision board. And months, same thing, I'd look at it and be like, oh man, that's going to be tough. And this is where, obviously, as we're talking about improving our thoughts, that's obviously not a good thought to have while I'm looking at this, right? But I got to tell you, what's changed over the last 4 to 5 weeks is there's been some, I mean, I can tell this thing's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. My brain has started getting on board, and what I've started doing is I've started to talk to people that I know that are very, very successful business people that have connections, and they're starting to tell me, oh, I think I can make this happen. So I've got feelers out, and this one's going to happen. Isn't that cool that initially I thought there's just absolutely no way this is going to happen, and now I'm like, it's inevitable. It's just sort of a timing thing now. So stick with your vision board. It takes time on some of these items, especially ones that are a little bit bigger that when you put them on, you don't really see the potential there. So anyway, I just wanted to go in a little detail now because that one's been a fun one for me as I've seen the progress there. Another one is adding order to our home. We were doing very good in this one, but I've got this one specifically in the basement. There's a food storage area that we really want to get more organized in order. And I don't feel like it's quite there yet, so I've still got it on here. Somebody mentioned order in their intro, and this is definitely one that I can totally relate to. I get it. And the last week we're gonna actually talk why order is such a big deal. I'm talking order in your home because it can hinder everything else you're trying to do. It's all connected. It's just really cool stuff. The next one is so for those of you who don't know, I am LDS. I'm Mormon, and I've got some goals related to the temple, which is one of our spiritual buildings. And there's just some goals that I have related to that on my vision board. So like a spiritual thing. You don't need to be spiritual again to get out of this. Maybe it's a service item or whatever you have in your life, helping someone else. But again, just in the spirit of sharing with you what I've got on here. I've also got a goal for some business things that I'm looking to do. I've got a real estate goal, and then we've got just a separate one with some of the things I'm looking to do in this space with the mentoring. And then ultimately, I've got one here about purchasing a new home, which this one I actually can take off. This happened, Holly and I just actually went under contract to build a home close to where we're at now, but we've had this one on there again. This has been one that's been on there for quite some time, but I need to pull it off. I guess I need to add a new item on there. So sort of fun stuff as we think about these vision boards. So does that make sense to everyone? I know you're all muted, but there is a group chat area over here. So feel free to chime in if you want to say yes or have questions as we go along. And I'm trying to glance at it occasionally. And thank you, Brandon. I see your answer there. So let's continue on here. So now I told you I was going to, excuse me, tell you how I work my vision board. What I mean by work my vision board is how do I actually use this thing? Like, I mean, okay, great. I've got it up on my wall. How does it actually work? Well, what I do, so I told you I've got 9 items. What I do is I start up in this top left corner, that item, that first item, and I'm looking at this item and I'm trying to get as much detail, meaning I'm looking at if it's this, let's say it's this car here, right? I'm looking at this beautiful car that I've drawn. No, but it's the car, the picture of the car that I got off Google or wherever I got it, the car dealership's website. And I'm looking, I'm scanning that bumper. I'm going up over the top of the car here. I'm looking at the wheels. And then this is where we start to add fire to our vision board. Is I start to picture myself sitting in that car. I'm sitting in the car and when I sit down, I hear the leather start to conform to my body. I turn the key, and what's that sound that a Tesla makes when you turn the key? I've got the sound in my mind, but whatever that would be for you and the thing that you've got on your vision board, right? You rev the engine. How does that sound? How does that make you feel? When I do it, I sort of get like little goosebumps when I hear that sound. I run my hand along the dashboard, and it just sort of glides in it, and it makes this little sound, sort of like it's catching my fingertips a little bit there on the dashboard. I look at the display here in the middle, and I'm touching the buttons. So this sounds sort of funny when you hear that, but this is the gas that you know, in Boy Scouts, when I go out to Boy Scouts, we give them a little cheater fuel. And those of you that have done this before know what I'm talking about. You pour a little cup of gasoline in there, and that thing takes off. So you will be successful if you're just glancing at this vision board every morning and every evening and when you can throughout the day. But if you want to really add fuel to your vision board, you'll do this type of so I start up here in the top left. For about 30 seconds, I'm just really as deeply as possible going through and doing these, engaging my senses, as many senses as possible. Then I move on to the next item. Same thing. I read the description down below. I look at that picture, and I picture myself as if this thing has already happened. I already own it, or I've already accomplished this thing. And I'm telling you, once you can do this and engage your senses and truly believe it, that's when you are now on your path to getting that thing. Remember from this diagram, I'm going to erase our vision board. Hope you guys got that there. Pretty simple setup there. We'll draw our tree back up here again. Remember, thoughts lead to emotions. Sorry, I know it's going to be a little tough to read, but you've already seen it, so hopefully it's okay. Emotions lead to actions. Actions lead to results. What a vision board is doing, team, is it is helping us to think differently. It's helping us to focus our attention, our senses, our thoughts, our emotions on that thing that we want in front of us, whatever it is. And you see, the only way you're going to get that thing is by starting it with a thought that is along the lines of that thing. And man, once that light bulb clicks on that this really is the equation to everything, to getting what you really desire in this life, you're going to implement things like a vision board, because it's a tool to help you think differently and help you to focus your thoughts on the things that you want in life. I had the hardest time, I got to tell you, if you're like me, when I first started hearing this, I struggled with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just changed my thinking that isn't anything. Thinking's just thinking. It doesn't do anything, right? But man, once you start hearing this over and over and you see examples of how these thoughts lead to emotions and actions, and you can start to tie them together and see that series of events, man, this is super, super, super powerful. And you realize I need to be spending my time here because I'm going to, the thoughts are the seed that you're planting, and if you plant a tomato seed, you don't get a pumpkin. Okay. So if I'm wanting a Tesla, we'll just stick with this example. By the way, I don't really want a Tesla. The example, it seems like the trendy car that everyone wants. So throw it out there. I mean, they're cool, but to each their own. So if I want a Tesla and I'm bogged down in fear and blame and regret, and I've got like a Pinto. Sorry if you own a Pinto. I drove my first car was a Chevy 1980 Chevy Citation. So trust me, I've driven a Geo Prism. Like I get it. But if you have a Pinto thought and mindset, it's going to be really tough to end up ultimately with a Tesla. That's a huge jump, right? But very similar are the goals that a lot of us want, our New Year's resolutions, the goals we're setting for ourselves throughout the week and throughout the year. A lot of times we have a Tesla goal, but we're only coming to the table with a Pinto mindset. So upgrading those thoughts, and how you do it is with repetition, engaging your senses as much as possible, and that your mind, look at your mind like a bunch of workers. Okay, I mentioned to you guys a few times that I left my corporate job. Well, it's about 3 years ago now. But those of you in the corporate world know, in every given company, you're going to have those guys or gals that I used to call them butts in seats. They're there physically, but they're checked out mentally. Like they're gone. They're not even in the building mentally. They're a butt in a seat, and they're totally checked out. They're not getting anything. They're not a contributor proactively. They're just really, they're just there physically. The way that I look at that is it compares to our brain. Our brain has a bunch of little workers in there too, and a lot of them are very lazy. And the way that we get them engaged and we get them working is that we tell them, hey, I want you to focus on this thing. And it takes time. Like I looked at my vision board for weeks before I really noticed anything change. But eventually your brain kicks into gear and it realizes, wow, this guy's not going to let this go. This is going to happen. So I'm going to continue to focus on this. And I got to focus on it because he's not going to let it go. It's not one of these, it's not like before where he'd go for a week and then give up and it didn't happen. He's going to continue to look at this thing for weeks and months. Excuse me. So the repetition of looking at the vision board. So again, mentor of mine taught me, look at it, get up in the morning and work it for 3 minutes. 3 minutes isn't much, right? I mean, 3 minutes you can go through in no time at all. So 3 minutes, work it like I taught you there, going from side to side, engage your emotions, and then go about your day. In the evening, before you go to bed, look at it again, 3 minutes. Same thing. What you're going to find is that repetition. You do that every morning and every evening, and you just do it as much as you can. You may miss a time. Don't beat yourself up. Just get right back on. It's important that you get right back on. If you miss the morning, make sure you do it in the evening. If you miss the evening, make sure you do it in the morning. Just forgive yourself and get back on board. But do that, and it's one of the keys. It's getting your thoughts in line, and then what's going to start happening is I would encourage you to have, throughout the day, what I use is my phone. I actually text myself notes as I think of them throughout the day. In the evening, you've heard this, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, is keep a pad of paper and a pen next to your bed. Because what's going to happen, and this happens to me, is you wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and you've got ideas. And what's happened is those lazy workers in your brain have started working, and they're starting to kick out ideas to you of try this, try that. Wow, I think this could work. Our brains have tons of really good information. It's just lazy. We need to get it activated, get our thoughts in the right place, and get our brain workers to start feeding us ideas. So that's, if you've had that experience before, when you wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and you have all these really good ideas, $1 million ideas, is take those notes, and before they disappear, because that's what happens too, right? 10, 15, sort of like the dream goes away real quick if you don't write it down. So make sure and hurry and write that down. And then this is your brain starting to try to give you ideas of how to accomplish that item on your vision board. Okay. Let me give you another cool example as we start getting here to our last 15 minutes. We'll start wrapping up a little bit. My wife, Holly, had a really cool example of a vision board when she first started her vision board. This was first part of last year sometime, I can't remember. She wanted to, her vision, one of the vision items on her vision board was to handwrite 50 thank you cards. She just wanted to focus on gratitude for people that have done nice things for her. And so that was the thing she decided to do. Was she's like, hey, I want to write these 50 thank you cards and get them out to people. And that's just going to help me feel better. It's going to be an item that I really want to do on my vision board. So she started doing it. She'd do, 3, 4, 5 a week, send them out. And I started noticing, because I go get the mail in the family. I went and get the mail, and here she starts getting 2, 3 of these back, through every couple days. I'm like, oh, this is cool. These people writing her back, good interaction here. Going to Holly, hey, Holly, look how cool. You got a couple of thank you cards here today. And I remember the first time this happened, I threw them down. Hey, this is so cool. And I go in the other room and come back out and sort of see what's going on. She's like, Dave, I got to tell you something. This is so cool. I'm like, yeah, I saw some people writing you back from the notes you sent them. She's like, no, these are different people. I didn't write these people thank you notes, and they're sending me thank you notes. I'm like, what do you mean? Why do they say? She never, in our whole marriage, 10 plus years, she never would. Well, very rare. I mean, we get like 1 or 2 a year, right? But I mean, she's getting these on a daily basis, a couple times a day, right? And they're from people that she did not send thank you cards to. Think about that. Isn't that cool? What's happening is, you're putting out this gratitude, and she's focusing on being thankful and grateful for people around her, and that is coming back to her. And vision boards, I haven't learned everything about a vision board and the full power of these things. It sort of goes back to that Einstein thing we talked about earlier in the training. But there's something about a vision board that's very, very powerful outside of just the thoughts. It starts to engage a lot of different things around us. And this example with Holly's thank you cards really showed me, because it kept happening until she got those 50 done and trickled for a while. And then when she didn't do it anymore, it sort of stopped. And she gets them occasionally again like she used to, but nothing to the tune of when she was focused on that, which is just, I think it's such a cool example. A couple others I'll give you, I won't go into detail on these, but I have for years had this goal of releasing. I say releasing instead of losing, because I don't want to go find this weight, but releasing 30 pounds. And finally last year, utilizing a vision board, that was one of my items. And how I did it is, when I served a church mission in the Philippines, I had they'd make these really cool, like they'd have little, just people in the neighborhoods that were very, very good at sewing. So we would go buy this really cool, fun material, and they would sew us pants. And I wore these when I was, 19, 20 years old. And I said, you know what, how cool would that be if I could fit back in those mission pants that I'd long since been able to get into, right? So my item I put on my vision board was a pair. I went and pulled them out of my closet, and I took a picture of those pants and put them on my vision board, and I wrote, I want to get back in comfortably to my mission pants, or something like that. And it happened, folks. I put it on first part of last year, and towards the end of the year, I was in those, I'd lost 30 pounds. It was in those pants. It activated my thoughts, and it ultimately led to a different result from what I had been getting for 12, 13 years that I've been wanting to do this. But something clicked because I was focused on it. My thoughts were focused on it. And then it caused me to have different actions, and it led to a different result. And I've been able to keep that weight off as well, which is super exciting. Another, leaving my corporate job. Holly and I have been wanting for a long time to be able to partner up together as a husband-wife realtor team. And once we paid off our home through a vision board that we didn't even know was a vision board at the time, and then working a couple more years, putting some away in savings, we got to that point where we're able to do it. Now we love it. We enjoy it. I'm able to go, spend time with my kids, which I didn't. I was traveling all over the place in my corporate job. So again, the point I want you to take away from this training tonight is a vision board is a tool. In and of itself, it's a cork board on your wall, right, with images and descriptions on it. But the power of it is it's helping you to change your thoughts. It's helping you to change it from, man, I'm fat. Man, I am scared to death that I'm not going to be able to succeed in my business. Man, I have horrible relationships with people. Those words, folks, they're thoughts, emotions. It's even leading to actions because we're actually speaking them, whether it's to ourselves or even out loud. What kind of results are we going to get when we talk that way to ourselves, when we feel that way about ourselves? Not, quite frankly, when we read all of these different things earlier in the call, I know it's probably not the big shock and awe answer that you want to hear, but if I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed, if I have a fear of failure, if I am overweight, if I need to increase my self-worth and purpose, it all starts with thoughts. I would take whatever it is that's been holding you back. If you feel overwhelmed, let's get a picture on your vision board of the opposite of overwhelmed. You have a thought seed, a thought root within your brain that is leading you to the result of overwhelmed. So the way to change that is to get the opposite of overwhelmed, which is empowered, which is stress-free, which is organized, and get some kind of image that resonates with you. Go to Google and type in organized or type in productive, whatever that word may be for you. It sometimes takes me 100 images to scan through on the Google search to find the one that's it. That's the one that gets me excited. It resonates with me. I put it on my vision board. I write a little description. I guarantee you, if you are feeling overwhelmed, you find the opposite of that with an image and a description. You put that baby up on your vision board and you work it for 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes in the evening, and you do that consistently for a period of time. I can't tell you how long that is going to take you and how deeply embedded your overwhelmed feeling is, but if you keep at it, you are going to find it starts to change. That thought's going to start to change. A lot of this comes back to be nice to yourself. We need to be nicer to ourselves. You would never go up to somebody and tell them they're fat, or you would never go up to somebody and tell them, man, you look like a mess. I mean, so I guess some people are a little mean that way, so I guess I can't say everyone, but most of us, I know a lot of you would not do that to somebody. But why is it okay to do it to ourselves, right? A lot of it is changing our inner dialogue, the things that we're putting into our brain, the visual and the audio that we're speaking about ourselves. If we can change that, it changes everything. So I'm just inviting you all to take this experiment to implement a vision board. If you start with one item, great. If you want to do the 9 like I do today, that's great as well. Pick several different goals. But the activity, I told you that part of this program is, let's just write it up here on the board. I don't want to call it homework because we're sort of through that, right? But my challenge or my invitation to participate in this activity for this week is, so on Mondays we do the trainings. We had our training today on vision boards. Whether you're live here with us tonight or watching this recording tomorrow or the next day, we had our training on vision boards. We'll just do VB. So throughout the week, so by Friday, hopefully before that, so you're able to actually implement it and do it for a few days. But by Friday at the latest, I would like you to have a vision board up on your wall or somewhere you're going to see it, whether it's maybe your bathroom mirror, wherever it is. And by the way, another thing you can do is once you have your vision board up, take a picture of it, and then you can access it when you're not at home and you want to study your vision board out wherever you're at. So just another thing that I've learned over the last few years doing this is to have that vision board with you as well, because that's really nice. Because you'll find times where you'll want to look at it, or maybe you don't get home. You know, maybe you're gone on a vacation or whatever, and you can't get the computer, so you want to have it there with you. Anyway, so that's just another little tidbit there. So training on Monday, vision boards. The activity for the week is to get a vision board up by Friday at the latest, but hopefully before that, and to also start working it, right? So 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes in the evening. That's 6 minutes out of your day, okay? And it's going to be the best 6 minutes you invest in yourself, because as you start to think differently and have better results, I promise you people will notice it. And I promise you, the other thing that somebody mentioned was, I want to be able to help others. The best way to help others is to improve yourself first, so you're doing better. And when you're doing better, you're then in a better position to help others around you. So sometimes the best way to help others is to be a little selfish first, because ultimately you're going to be able to be in a better position to help others because you have better knowledge and know-how, and you're just in a better spot yourself to help others. There's not a lot of people that are in a really hot mess in life that are able to go out and help others. They can do some, but if you really want to tap into a whole nother level of service and helping other people, work on yourself, because that's going to really help you get there. All right. Wednesday. So what's going to go on Wednesday? I'll send some posts on the Facebook page and also try to send an email. By the way, I saw that I left, like, in the last email that went out, it said like test first name. I think I did something wrong obviously there. So I just wanted to let you acknowledge that I saw that and we'll get that fixed for next time, but sort of a funny deal. So on Wednesday, same time at 9 p.m., we're going to have a Q&A call. Now, the way that we will set up for this is starting right now. I will go on tonight. Well, so give me the next 30 minutes to an hour. I'm going to go on and start a post that is for questions that you have. These can be something related to vision boards, but anything related to personal development. To put your questions in there, and then I will use that to answer to the best of my ability on Wednesday in that call the different questions that you have. And I'll start to work through some of these a little bit more targeted to the things that you mentioned in your intro posts. I can start to tackle some of those as well. So, but I do want people to feel like they have a way to ask questions. If there's something that keeps you up at night, right? A question that's maybe been on your mind in this area, something that's maybe holding you back, or just a question you have in general around shooting towards goals and things related to that, go ahead and lob them into the Facebook, this post that I'll create, and then I will take Wednesday to do that and answer that. And then on Friday, I would like to have you report back. So after our Wednesday call, probably either that night or on Thursday morning, I will create a new post on our private Facebook page where I will ask you to chime in and share with us what you've learned. You can do it in just a post. You could post a picture of your vision board. You could do a video and with a little description if you'd like, or just chat with us. But I'd really encourage you and love to have you participate in this reporting back. This is going to be something that will be really helpful to you. This sort of completes this cycle. These different components all hit on different areas that are going to make sure this training. I don't want to just come and train you and tell you some of this stuff, but I really want you to put it into action. it's really for nothing unless we start taking action on some of this stuff. So that reporting piece is nice because it keeps us all accountable to one another to be able to report back what we're implementing from the learnings that we're having each week. So that would be my challenge to you as an activity, and some of the other things with posting questions and then reporting back. Okay. Let me, so I'm thinking here if there's any other things to cover off on with the vision board, but I think I've covered the gist of what I'd like to cover tonight. So let me leave you with a quote here that I really love. It says that the state of your life is determined by the state of your mind. The state of your life is determined by the state of your mind. So I hope, I've really hammered this point tonight, but I hope you've taken away a couple things. Number one, that 80% of your success that you're going to have towards the different things you're looking to shoot for in life is based on your mindset. It's not the skill set. That's a piece of it. That's going to be your 20%, right? You need to have the know-how to do your job or to lose weight or to make more money or whatever it may be. 20% is very important. That's the skill set or the knowledge of how to do that. But the majority, 80% of it is your mindset. So if we simply implement what we've learned tonight and put up that vision board, we'll just do it down below here on your wall. It's now on your wall. Okay, it's going to be really tough to avoid and to not look at because it's right there in front of you on your wall. Okay, so the consistency is a big key piece to this. The repetition is a key piece to this. So if you have this vision board that you're seeing it throughout the day, you're seeing it in the morning and the evening, that's going to start to change the thoughts over time. So the mindset, and then the second thing that I want to mention is just that equation that thoughts lead to emotions, lead to actions, lead to results. Oh, I never knew that was a little acronym there. TIER. Huh. To think about that a little bit. I think we got something there, guys. We can better trademark that. We'll trademark it as a team here. How we describe the equation. So thoughts equal emotions equal actions equals results. And the 80% mindset, 20% skill set. Those are the couple major things, as well as obviously your tool here now with the vision board. So that's what I got for you tonight, guys. I hope you're able to take away some good things, some good learnings from this tonight. As I think back on the successes that I've been able to have, really fun successes. I realize I'm not the most successful person yet out there. I mean, I'm striving towards things. I don't compare myself to other people. That's another thing that I've learned, is that comparison really leads to jealousy or pride, and neither of those are things that I want in my life. So I'm comparing myself to myself, my previous self, and I just want to improve myself over time. So that's really become my goal. And I can tell you that knowing that my mindset, my thoughts, things like a vision board work, these are the things that I'm doing. That's what I'm told you at the first of this. My sort of pitch to you to come join the program was that I was going to share with you the things that I found most helpful to have these fun successes that I've had in my life thus far. I've got some really cool things that I'm shooting towards that are pretty big and scary and going to be awesome once we get there. So I'm going to continue to implement these, and I would encourage you to as well. So that's what I got for you, everyone. I hope you got something helpful and good and some good actionable things here tonight. I look forward to hearing sort of how it goes throughout the week. So I'll post up maybe I'll do the 2 posts. I would love to, because as you start having successes, I don't feel like you need to wait till Thursday or Friday either. So maybe we'll post one for questions that you can lob out, another one for your reporting and your successes as you have them. Let's start throwing those out there, start creating this dialogue with one another, learning from one another, and it's going to be fun. So this is just week 1. We're going to dive into next week, I believe, is declarations, which is, I mentioned to you, this is the visual component. Declarations are the audio portion, or words that we use. That's what we're going to focus on next week, which is equally important as the visual. And so let's just have a good week. focus on that vision board. That's going to be the one thing I want you to focus on, right? Get that vision board implemented. Let's start reporting back to one another. Let's get questions out there and answer those. And I'm here to help. Free program here for you guys. I just looking to share this with more people, and super happy to do it. And so grateful for those of you that jumped on live. Equally grateful for those of you that will jump on and listen to this recording later. And this is from wishing to winning, guys. This is the start of a 6-week program, and looking forward to the upcoming week. So that's what I got. Have a great evening, everyone, and we will be in touch shortly.